Riding a motorcycle, it's a feeling, it's a sensation like no other. When I'm out there on my bike exploring new places, it's that sense of freedom that keeps me coming back for more. As I combine that with this country of Bolivia and its people, it takes that whole experience to a new level. I grew up in a small town in southern Michigan, born and raised, and the truth is I haven't always been a motorcycle rider. I think growing up probably my mom played the biggest hand in that as she saw the risks involved. But after twisting the throttle for the first time and heading off on some gravel road that was on no map that I owned, I was completely hooked. Before I even owned a motorcycle, I was already working out the details of where I wanted my first big trip to be. After I had my bike in my hands, there was absolutely no looking back. I should say that during this time, my family and I were living in El Salvador, Central America. So once we finished our time there, I hopped on my bike and I headed south towards Costa Rica and the volcanoes and the beaches there, before then reversing course, heading back towards Mexico, where I met up with some fellow adventure riders and we plotted our route back north to the States. That trip ended up being everything I could have imagined, everything I could have dreamed of, and much more. It is probably the single biggest factor in what I'm actually doing now. It was during that trip that I began dreaming about the possibility of one day leading groups of people on trips to far off places, exotic places, getting to know new cultures, new ways of life. But as it often goes with dreams, my dream was put on hold. How my family wound up in Bolivia really deserves its own story, but I'll start by saying that my wife Rebecca was born and raised here. Rebecca and I met in college, and it was kind of during this time that I became intrigued with Bolivia, not for the purpose of riding a motorcycle here, but rather for its landscape and its cultural diversity. So fast forward, it wasn't until about 10 years later, while we were living in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, that we were presented with the opportunity to relocate to Bolivia. It all happened through a chance encounter with an old college classmate and her husband, who had just recently taken on the administrative duties at a children's home in Santa Cruz, and later they asked us to join them in their work. At that stage in our lives, we had two young sons, so it otherwise might have been an easy decision to make. It took a lot of consideration. Ultimately, we decided to give Bolivia a shot, worked at the children's home for nearly 3.5 years as resident directors, providing guidance to young adults as they prepared to transition out of the children's home. It was during this time working at the children's home that the motorcycle bug bit me again, so I went out and bought myself a small 250cc bike and began to do some local explorations. Later, I got connected with a group of motorcycle enthusiasts from my wife's hometown, and my adventures took me a little further from home. Eventually, my desire to see and know more about Bolivia led me to taking a 10-day tour throughout much of the country. When I returned home, I had more than just photos and videos to share with my family. I returned convinced that if ever there was a time to make my dream of leading motorcycle tours a reality, this was it. Moving into my wife's childhood home was a smooth transition. However, finding the bikes we wanted for our tours was much more challenging. After purchasing a shipping container in the United States, we filled it with our recently purchased bikes and our belongings, and before too long it was heading south out on the open waters of the Pacific Ocean. In less than a month's time, our container reached Chile and was then transported overland to La Paz, Bolivia, where things started to get really interesting. You see, pre-shipment, we were told that upon arrival in La Paz, our container would most likely not have to be opened, but that no matter what, the bikes would not have to be removed. That continued to be the story right up until the moment that our container arrived, and immediately it was opened and the bikes removed. So I then immediately booked a ticket to La Paz to assess the situation and my plan of action. And all I was in La Paz for about a month and a half working to get the container and our bikes released. I chose to see the situation in the form of a challenge, and I let my persistence be the driving force to overcome the obstacle, and ultimately we prevailed. Beyond our own determination and sacrifice, we are so very grateful to our friends and family who lent us their support and their encouragement during these trying moments, even to the point that we're at now where we're finally able to open the doors and start showing off this wonderful country to our guests. Has been such a challenge, yet it's also been so very worth it. So what we've done now is we've taken all of our dreaming, all of our preparation and sacrifice that we've put into it and transitioned those same energies and that same attention to detail and refocused it on our tours, on our clients, to make sure that they have an unforgettable, once-in-a-lifetime kind of adventure. The level of service you'll find here with us is truly second to none. From the condition of our bikes, the planning of our routes, the hotels and restaurants that we've chosen, we have taken the time to make sure that our guests won't leave here disappointed. We've even gone the extra mile to be able to transport an auxiliary bike with us in our support truck while on tour, something that to the best of our knowledge is not offered by anyone else in Bolivia. The process of being able to get authorization to carry an auxiliary bike is not an easy one, but at the same time for us, not doing so isn't an option. To sum it up, our client satisfaction is our priority. Bolivia is a landlocked country, and since its inception, it's always been a land of contrasts. Its people are some of the warmest and friendliest to visitors that you'll find anywhere. However, despite being rich in natural resources, the concentration of those resources has created a lot of social disparity. During the last decade, since the election of its first indigenous president, the country as a whole has experienced a period of stability. The current government has focused a lot of energy on promoting equality amongst its many ethnic groups, as well as constructing new schools and improving the transportation infrastructure. As a testament to the diversity of its people, the Constitution officially recognizes 37 different languages as official languages. Likewise, its landscape is every bit as diverse as its people. Ranging from tropical lowlands to snow-capped mountains, it's hard to imagine a more diverse country.